As technologies become more sophisticated, the threat of digital authoritarianism grows. To discuss this threat and the most effectual means of countering it, please join me in welcoming our panelists. Masih Alinejad, President of the World Liberty Congress, Félix Maradiaga, Trustee at Freedom House and Director of the WLC Academy, Nikola, Ilić, CEO and founder of ChangeLab Global, and the conversation will be moderated by Glick, SCSP Advisor.
Wow, this is really incredible. And the conversations that are going on today are all about AI and all about the promise of AI. One of the things that is less discussed is how AI in authoritarian countries is used in wholly non-democratic ways, in ways that oppress the populations of those countries. I am extremely thrilled and honored to be moderating this panel with three of the leading voices on the use of AI and emerging technologies and how they are used in what we'll call the axis of distortion countries, starting with Iran, moving on toward Latin America, Cuba, Nicaragua, and then on to Europe, Russia, Serbia, and it's my great honor to have with us today Masih Alinejad, an Iranian-American women's rights activist, author, journalist, the leader of the World Liberty Congress, and an all-around badass. Félix Maradiaga, a former political prisoner from Nicaragua and a prominent member of the Nicaraguan opposition. He is a trustee of Freedom House and a director of the World Liberty Congress Academy. And last but not least, Nikola Ilić, a professor and social entrepreneur. He teaches democratic leadership at Georgetown University, and he is the founder of ChangeLab. Masih, I'm going to begin with you. The Iranian regime has some of the most sophisticated digital censorship in the world. Talk about the Iranian women's and civil society activists and how they are organizing despite repression from the regime.
First of all, I have to say I'm not an expert at AI, but I am an expert alongside millions of Iranian women how to make troubles for mullahs, for the oppressors. So unfortunately, the Islamic Republic is weaponizing AI to control our body. How many women are here? Hands up. You're all like criminals in the eyes of the government in my country because of just showing your hair, like simply just showing your hair like this. So in my country, 2 years ago, a woman got killed, Masih Amini, in the hand of morality police. And Iranian women took to the street to walk unveiled, burn the headscarf, and not obeying compulsory hijab laws. So the regime now using cameras and face recognition software to identify those who like simply walking like you, unveiled. So that's how they try to arrest them. So before the AI was in the world, the Iranian regime was using morality police. I want to actually show you the picture of women. We can show this. So morality police are a bunch of police officers walking in the streets and arresting women for the crime of showing their hair. So that can get a lot of attention. So media talk about this, no? For that, the Iranian regime don't want to pay the price. They don't want to make a scandal by arresting women in the street. They actually use technology to identify women nowadays. Basically, they don't have the pictures, but go on my Instagram and social media, follow the hashtag #MyCameraIsMyWeapon. So you see that Iranian women are using their cameras and exposing the morality police. So that's why now they don't want to show this. So women are walking unveiled, which is a punishable crime. So they use the AI technology to arrest them. This is only one. when people take to the streets, then they actually do the CCTV, the cameras everywhere, provided by Chinese dictators, to identify protesters and then execute them, then arrest them, put them in prison, torture them. So basically, the AI in my country is not to protect people. It's there to end their lives. It's there to oppress them, to control the whole society. So I strongly believe that showing your hair is not a crime. But in a land when it is a crime, then the tech companies, the government across democracies, they should pay attention to those oppressive and dictators like the Islamic Republic, using them as a weapon, as a tool of like oppressing people, and support the people of my country, especially the women, because women are badass. Anyway, they break the laws and they need to be protected.
Masih, I'm going to continue along with that line of questioning. I'm sure that many people here in the audience know your name, know your story, but I'm guessing that some people do not. Masih was targeted by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps here in the United States for assassination. Foreign, terrorist-designated Revolutionary Guard Corps found her in the United States on our territory and targeted her for assassination. Masih, talk to us a little bit about your story and your encounters of the Iranian regime and its use of technology in a very personal way, not overly personal if you choose. Unfortunately, we're not able to get large screen images.
These are the pictures of women. Look at their faces. Look at their faces. They are scared of morality police because it is scary in 21st century getting arrested. And what breaks my heart, now the AI is doing the dirty job of the morality police. Instead of like walking in the streets and arresting them, they identify them and they find them. They have to pay a ticket simply for showing their hair. So you asked me about talking about my personal experience. I didn't want to actually come on the stage with a sad story, because for me it is very emotional that I'm a US citizen and the regime of Iran targeting US citizens on US soil, and that should not be acceptable. I don't have any fear, but it is scary that a regime can use digital like cyber army before sending their gunmen in front of my house in Brooklyn. They're using online attack, like sexual harassment every single day. I face sexual harassment online. And this is a tactic from a regime. When I'm a survivor of 3 assassination plots on US soil. But I know for fact that before they sending their gunmen, how they use technology to isolate you. A colleague of mine, Ruhollah Zam, was kidnapped from France to Iraq, and from Iraq to Iran, and then they executed him. But before executing him, they were attacking him online to isolate him. They were labeling him like this activist is just caring about money, or works for the Israeli government, for Saudi Arabia, agent of CIA. I am agent of MI6, agent of, even they call me agent of Mossad. At the same time, how powerful I can work for different agents. So this is what their tactic is, to isolate people like me and then physically eliminate you. So for that, I think that the social media now became a tool in the hand of the government. So I want to ask the government, the US government, officially recognize cyber attacks on activists and dissidents as a tool of transnational repression. That's how they can support the activists and dissidents who are being the target of the Iranian regime. So I know that I'm going to talk a lot, but I'm going to leave it to my...
Okay, very good and very powerful. What you're starting to see is the picture being painted of how authoritarian regimes use technology to silence dissidents. Félix, I'm wondering if you can share with us how are the next generation of activists using emerging technologies to advance change globally, as you see it?
Well, first of all, let me say how honored I am with Masih, co-founder of the World Liberty Congress, alongside Leopoldo Lopez from Venezuela, Gary Kasparov as well, and I was invited to help them put together the World Liberty Congress Academy to bring about 20 years of lessons learned around the world, not only in Nicaragua, where actually it's eye-opening that in a tiny country, the second poorest country in the world, Russia and China have one of the largest surveillance operation, the SORM Russian system, the Chinese as well with their surveillance methods. And these are not investments to reduce poverty, to build infrastructure. These are highly sophisticated tools. And when we travel to places in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in Venezuela, we see a common pattern, which is the weaponization of technology under a common umbrella of opacity and the control of dissent. What we are trying to do is identifying brave activists such as Masih and Nikola, who's been incredible to us as a part of the team, and many of our colleagues, to use technology for what it should be, to advance human freedom, technology to liberate innovation and the powers of human dignity. Because technology is agnostic, it's a tool. And we see, for example, how social media, this is the basic example that we use, and in most parts of the world, the use of technology starts with the weaponization of the algorithm, the tyranny of the algorithm. That's I would say, the basic step in which even in democratic countries, activists are facing tremendous smear campaigns through social media. And what we're trying to explain is that I wouldn't say we lost the battle of social media, but if you look at the literature 10 years ago, people, activists around the world during the Arab Spring, for example, believed that social media was going to be on the sides of activists. And we were not at the forefront on that. And now, social media is being weaponized by autocrats. So we are trying to avoid that AI is going to have the same trend. And what we see is that in democracies, technologies such as AI, for example, or robotics, function on the restraints of property rights, ethics, and in places like China, they do not have any restraints. So through the World Liberty Congress Academy, we're teaching people technologies such as Bitcoin, so they can bypass financial censorship. We're teaching them the ethical use of AI around the world, and we are improving the technical literacy of activists through a program called Decentralized Resistance that now is working in over 50 countries around the world.
Wow. One of the things that you said, I'm just going to pull this string a little bit, and that is that you said technology is agnostic. And that's 100% correct. When you think about technology, whether it's the blockchain technology that goes into Bitcoin or the blockchain technology that's used by repressive regimes to box in financial transactions and of their own governments so that they can evade international SWIFT banking regulations. There are pros and cons to both sides of the emerging technology coin. And it's fascinating for us here, as we're all excited, as I said, about artificial intelligence and the promise that it brings, emerging technologies and the promise that they bring. There's also that dark side to it. Nikola, as a professor, I'm wondering if you can share with us how emerging digital technologies and tactics for their use, both by authoritarian regimes and by democracies, are shaping how young people engage with the use of technology.
Thank you, Bonnie, and it's fantastic to share stage with Masih and Félix. And as you can see, we're also learning. We're here to learn, not only to project, so we're looking forward to connect with you as well. But let me ask you first, besides us on the stage, how many of you ever lived in autocracy? You can raise your hand. Have you ever? How many of you? Okay, so let me make a small case for democracy. Many people in this whole conference, many of you, think of democracy as some pie in the sky, something that's maybe intangible, or you're fish in the water. But let me put it this way: in our countries, this very conversation, this conversation, we wouldn't be able to have it.
It's a crime.
Or at best, if we would be able to have it, half of you would be informants, informing the other half. Many people in this conference would be under heavy surveillance, either because of the resources they have or because of the ideas they have, right? It sucks to live in autocracy. You have this mental load. Oh, who is watching me? What is happening? Am I being watched? Can I say this? Can I say that? It's exhausting. It really sucks. On the other side, many people here, all these wonders that we have here, we can actually thanks to this idea of, hey, we have a market of, free market of ideas where we can share our ideas and let them compete and create something new. That you can't do that in many countries, right? So I want to make sure not to take it for granted. We own many of your and our successes to the freedom of speech and the freedom that we have here. Now, I see democracy also as a practice. It's something that it's not just voting every few years. It's about what you do every day. Like, how do you have this conversation? Each one of you will go to your maybe school or study group, your team, your organization. How to use power that you have. It's not just about, you know, how do we vote and all of that, but how do you use whatever you have every day. We get to shape democratic spaces every day. Now, to connect it to the AI, if you think about the last 20, 25, 30 years, technology, particularly AI last 5 years or so, made almost all human beings more powerful. There's a kid somewhere in Moldova or in Idaho or I don't know where opening their first ChatGPT account right now, opening their YouTube channel, starting to project their opinions in the world. Wow, we could not do this 20, 30 years ago, right?
Yep.
So a lot more power, a lot more responsibility. Do we teach people how to use power responsibly? Conversation to have. But at the same time, authoritarians have access to this. So let me put it this way. Authoritarians have more power now to oppress more people with less people. For example, if you want to have totalitarian country and you want to have you know, control over information, before you need a network of informants.
Right.
Today, you need high definition cameras, AI face recognition software, a data center, and you can oppress way more people with way less people who work for you. So you're even less accountable. I can, you know, I can convince only few people to do this with me, and we can oppress a large number of people through technology, right? But at the same time, I want to acknowledge that AI and the technology allows us to build democracy like we never could before, because we can connect better. We can do research faster. We can include voices that were not heard. So one way to think about this is that we're almost, to build on your argument, Félix, we're in an arm race, right? On one side, authoritarians is using it to create totalitarianism and to disempower people, to steal their agency. On the other side, we can build democracy and give more agency, right? And this is where our two worlds kind of come together.
I think, Nikola, let's pick up on that and this concept of responsibility, roles and responsibilities in the deployment of AI technology. There's another actor that we're not talking about. You're talking about governments, use of technology to oppress citizens. How about companies? What is the role and responsibility of companies that are developing this technology to ensure that populations are not oppressed? We separate the private sector a lot in the United States, but is it maybe a time to bring the government together with the private sector to address the profound nature of what you just described?
Yeah, I think that's very important. I really want to bring this conversation not on a geostrategic level, but to like the level of each one of us where we can act in your company, in your team, so forth. To give you a case of country where I'm from, Serbia, just briefly, it's a Southeast country, Southeast Europe country, small country at battleground, Russia, China, West, right? Geostrategically important. For 30 years, we have a regime that controls everything. Really, one guy controls everything. Let me put it this way. Out of 170 municipalities in this small country, government controls like 158 or something like that, most of them. Can you imagine in the United States, if one party controls 49 states, and within those states, one party controls 95% of counties? It's tremendous control. And they've been using technology in many ways to media control, to face recognition, to go after activists and so forth. But interestingly, they've been able to do this by importing software from private companies. They use this software, NoviSpy, and they use it to track journalists, and then to twist whatever they found, and then use the government media to attack you. You know, they don't have to put you in prison, which is also horrible. It's enough for them to start a smear campaign against you. They use swarms of AI bots. Recently, I published an article in the biggest opposition papers in Serbia, and there were a bunch of people just suddenly attacking me. My wife was like, "Oh my God, they're so vicious." I was like, "Well, let me see." We look at it, and there's a bunch of these accounts are not real. So what I think we need to do, I have 4 things. One is export controls. Governments need, because it's not even in national security interest of this government here in the United States to have private sector exporting software that can be abused by obviously authoritarian governments, right? Second thing, transparency. We want to know if you're exporting software that can be weaponized, who are you exporting to? We also need mechanisms for those who are targeted that they can sue against, right? Because people their livelihoods have been destroyed. And lately, I want to say we do need international community to work together. That's the reason why we met through World Liberty Congress. We realized authoritarians working together, well, we need to work together too, to make sure that tools like AI can be used for good. And they can be, and they are.
Maybe you have some thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I want to actually tell you that while the democracies are busy talking about ethic, moral, human rights, the dictators from Russia to China, Venezuela, Nicaragua, everywhere, they're working together using technology to kill their own citizens, their own people, especially women in my country. Let me just give you one example. When the representative of the Iranian regime was disinvited to go to Davos, instead I was invited to take a part in the conversation, and I was very excited that finally they recognized the voice of dissidents. But as soon as I finished my talk, I came out to talk to the media about how the regime like oppressing and killing people, but I was bombarded by questions from people, journalists asking me about a porn video of me, a sex video of me was out everywhere. So I got panicked. I went on my mobile and I searched my name. I mean, it's shocking. I'm sure none of you even Google your name, Masih, Alinejad, and sex. I did. I Googled that, and suddenly I saw the curls, the massive hair engaging in sex. I got almost heart attack. I called my husband, and I said, "Oh my God, how many times I told you don't make video? It's out, it's everywhere." So my husband said that, "Darling, I checked that. It's not us. Come back home, we're gonna make better one." So it was not us. We are laughing because of, like, my husband made a joke supporting me. But I'm talking about a government actually promoting honor killings in a country when they're using like edited AI video, deep faked video to actually show that women having sex with other men or their sex video out there. It's easy for those in the name of honor to kill women. So dictators in Islamic Republic, in Afghanistan, in Islamic countries, they're using this AI technology to actually discredit in their own way women. But when I reported the video to tech companies, it was on Facebook, on X, they were like, "We can't remove these videos, it's not violenting." I was like shocked. So that's why I think the responsibility of tech company is bigger than like even government, because when we report them, we ask them for their support in the name of ethic, moral, freedom of speech. How come dictators in my country using internet, like banning 18 million people from using social media, but they're enjoying their freedom of speech on social media? And Elon Musk saying that, no, we should know what's going on in the mind of dictators. That's why we give them freedom of speech. I am telling you, we know. In their mind, they want to destroy democracy. They want to destroy freedom of speech all over the world. So the time has come for the US government to work with the tech companies to protect freedom of speech.
I think that that's vitally important, and I am sorry that this discredited, absurd video was published including right after you spoke on a global stage in an effort to shame you, which mercifully you were not shamed. But it takes an awful lot of courage. One of the words that I think it was you, Felix, that you used was you referred to dissidents as brave. And the level of bravery that is required for a small handful of loud people to tell the story to the world about how technology is being used by true mastermind engineers to suppress populations is really important. Here's another line that I think is extremely important. What happens, for example, when you're cut off from the ability to do international transactions, financial transactions? What happens when a regime weaponizes financial systems to hold its population captive, whether it's through central bank surveillance, the use of Bitcoin and blockchain? Felix, I'd like you to talk a little bit about your experience with the financial sector and how that's being used through technology against populations.
Thank you, Bonnie. That is indeed our largest program, financial freedom and also countering financial repression and asset-based repression for political control. But before that, let me fully agree with both Nikola and Masih on the importance of bridging the gap between activists, the private sector, the national security community. I want to publicly acknowledge the organizers of AI Expo for bringing activists into this conversation, recognize the organizers of Oslo Freedom Forum, the World Liberty Congress, Freedom House, that has just published the Freedom of the Net report. So you're seeing that these silos of technologies, private sector, national security, and activists are being well broken, and now we're trying to bridge the gap. To your question on financial repression, dictators have a fast learning curve.
Yes.
They realized that by labeling a dissident from Iran, from Russia, from Serbia as a political dissident, when you travel abroad, that do not function anymore. So they are exercising what we label transnational financial repression. They are piggybacking on anti-money laundering laws and finding investigative journalists, women activists, youth, and they label them as terrorists, as drug traffickers. So when these activists and dissidents in exile want to open a bank account, it's basically impossible. In my case, after surviving assassination attempts, 2 years in prison, I came back to the US, and it was impossible for me to open a bank account for at least a year. And I realized that that's a problem of thousands of dissidents in Europe and the US. So two things. One, it's tackling this from a policy perspective, educating policymakers to understand that anti-money laundering laws are obsolete. So there's a policy perspective on this, and also the use of blockchain and Bitcoin. I need to say that in our case, we do not support Bitcoin from an investment perspective or from the perspective that some of my libertarian colleagues have, for example, which I fully respect, but from the perspective of dissidents that cannot open a bank account in their countries, that cannot do transactions. So we are also educating people in Bitcoin as a freedom technology.
It's a fascinating concept, and most people who live in the United States don't think twice about it. We get these credit card solicitations in the mail. We open up a credit card account here. We open up a bank account here. But technology is being used in some of the most unscrupulous ways. In the case, for example, of Félix, of how does that make you feel when you go to a bank to open an account and security comes and says, well, we have you on a list here of being a drug trafficker, or we have you on a list here of being a money launderer. What it's telling us today is that the laws that we have on the books have not kept up with the pace of technology. And the bad guys, as you said, are much, much faster than government regulators could even imagine. And so now is the time for us to reimagine what is going on through the use of technology. Again, amazing advances through the use of AI, but also the amazing and terrifying capacity of authoritarian regimes to control their populations. I'd like to give everyone a moment to offer some closing thoughts. Nikola, I had you last before. I'm going to start with you and we'll work our way down to give us your closing thoughts for a few minutes on where we are today with the world of artificial intelligence, the world that we're bringing our kids up in. I see you have Princess Leia on your t-shirt because you have two badass daughters. So what does the world look like for them in terms of dealing with, learning about, and engaging with emerging technologies and artificial intelligence?
It's a tough question. As a parent of 4 and 5.5 years old daughters, I am terrified. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how the world will look like. I am optimist by nature. I love technology. I had my first computer when I was 6, Commodore 64. Started with the games, I even learned programming. I love technology. This is the first time in my life that I'm actually a bit pessimistic. I am very aware what we can do together, but I'm also very aware where this can lead. And I guess to use a Star Wars, I like to say technology without moral compass is a path to the dark side. And I think we need to work together. So this is a short conversation, but I hope to continue talking to many of you who know even more about AI and technology to help us, because I believe, as you said, both of you, that authoritarians are ahead of curve. We need to learn faster. Like right now, I'm building this AI tool to teach more people, to train more people in how to use power in more democratic way. How do you lead in democratic way? How to exercise democratic leadership, right? So this is what I've been doing my whole life in analog way. Now we're going to expand it. I know Félix also is working, doing a lot of stuff in Leadership Academy, World Liberty Congress Academy. I just want to leave you with this question: what can you do together with us so that we can create a world in which, well, parents are not terrified of the future of their kids, and in which we use technology to empower and create more agency instead of letting those who just want to control using that power to subjugate us to their will.
Thank you. I am going to have everybody at the end give us a word on what gives you hope, because right now I'm feeling a little bit in the dungeon. Félix, tell us your thoughts on some closing ideas, and again, keeping in mind that at the end we'll end on a positive and hopeful note. So feel free to go in.
I'm actually a radical optimist. Believe me that when I see the work that we're doing with volunteers in Cuba, in South Sudan, in Cambodia, it gives me hope. And when of course, when I interact every day working with our president, Masih, it gives me hope. But I should say two things that I think are very important. Number one, put human dignity, human rights and freedom at the center on the conversation on technology. I think that we fail to do that with social media. And I always use the social media analogy. And just ask yourself, is social media building common ground and dialogue, or is social media polarizing our conversations? And I think that we failed as a society, as private sector, as activists, to turn social media into something that could be energizing for the democratic dialogue. So if we learn our lesson and we use AI to empower human dignity, to give the tools for children in Africa that cannot access translated books, or for example, to teach mathematics or science at a superhuman speed in parts of the world when you cannot bring a teacher, for example. So I see the potential of AI, the potential of technology, very hopeful if we put the human dignity and freedom at the center of the conversation. And it's a moral battle. Let's not tackle this as a technological question. It's a moral and ethical battle. And number two, the United States has to lead, because China wants to impose the rules. So Russia doesn't have the capacity to do, but China wants to impose the rule. And the private sector, the national security community, the consumers in the US and the political elites and academic elites need to understand that if the United States doesn't lead this technological wave, China will.
Yeah. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point.
He
I know
stole
you haven't
yours.
any question, but I have to say, the United States of America should take the lead and mobilize all democratic countries. It's beyond sad that dictators are more united than democratic countries. Look, guys, I have to tell you something. How many men are now standing here? Hands up. Hands up. Look, all of you. We are talking about a regime that insulting every single of you men. The government of Iran say that if a woman sing, you men cannot control yourself. You get excited and you rape us. That's the logic of a regime now using technology to oppress female singers in my country. Let me sing for you. I want to really check if you're going to get into trouble or not. Honestly, this is the regime. Now the US government is negotiating with them. I strongly believe that the US government must include the dissidents, especially the women, in any negotiation, and mobilize the tech companies to isolate this regime. Kick them out from all the social medias, while they are actually arresting women for simply singing and sharing their singing videos on social media. So I want you to join our campaign, Iranian women, women of Afghanistan, using technology, using social media to sing, because speaking for women of Afghanistan is a crime. So sitting like this, as my brother mentioned, sitting men and women together is a punishable crime. And those dictators, as Félix said, China should not lead the world. So the US government must mobilize the democratic countries, get all the tech companies to kick out dictators and support the women of Iran and Afghanistan.
Thank you so much. It's so vital for us to not fall asleep at the wheel. Technology is advancing at a crazy fast pace, and we are behind. And authoritarian regimes are way at the front. And what we have to be cautious about and what we have to lead on is an ability to control the conversation. That's going to involve government, companies, corporate America, but also the voices of the dissident community. We can sit and be blasé and think that all technology is good. And here's the real deal. Technology is good when it's good, but it is agnostic. And at the end of the day, it can be used to manipulate and for great evil. But again, I want to end on a positive note. Masih, something has to give you hope. What gives you hope in the world of emerging technology and the use of AI and where we're headed in 2025 and beyond?
To be honest, the regime in Iran did everything to take my homeland away from us, my family away from us. It has been 15 years that I haven't hugged my mother, simply for fighting for freedom. And you've heard of the expression dead man walking? I'm the dead woman walking and talking. So, and I'm being surrounded by a lot of dissidents at World Liberty Congress, dissidents from 56 authoritarian regimes having the same problem, not being able to hug their families, surviving assassination plot, online harassment, being the target of kidnapping plot, having family members in the death row in prison. They put my brother in prison to punish me. So basically you might think that I feel miserable. No, never, because I'm only 50 kilos and I made my oppressors feel miserable. That's why they want to kill me, they want to kill Félix, they want to kill all the dissidents at World Liberty Congress. We don't have any fear because we have only one life, and we believe that people deserve to have normal life in authoritarian regimes. If we don't get united to end them, believe me, the autocracy, all the dictators, they will get united and they will end democracy here in the United States of America. So that gives me hope. When I wake up and I see the women in Iran, the women in Afghanistan, The women showing their, sorry, I have to say, their middle fingers to the Chinese cameras and saying that, identify us. We have no fear. We are here to end you. So that gives me hope to go.
All right. Félix, it's hard to follow Masih, I'm going to say, but please.
It's impossible to follow that, but I can just add to her brave words and her inspiration that we are finally talking to each other. Once again, thank you so much to AI Expo to put together activists, the forefront of technology experts, and the private sector and government to have this conversation and to understand that at the end of the day, we're all interconnected and no human is free in America until everyone is free. The lack of freedom in other parts of the world, even if we're never traveled there, will impact the US through migration, through crisis, through climate change, through many other problems. So I think that this awakening of the interconnection of the human spirit, of human dignity and freedom, is what gives me hope. Also the fact that we are, as World Liberty Congress, invited into the conversation gives me hope. Yeah. And finally, you're all invited to our Freedom Week, first week in November in Berlin.
Very good.
Together we are stronger.
That's true. Nikola, some last thoughts.
Rebellion is built on hope, right? This gives me hope. Look at this.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love the crowd now.
These people came.
For you.
Yeah, applause to you. No, seriously. But this gives me hope, right? You came here to be part of this conversation when there's many other things happening. So what gives me hope are people.
I really want to thank you. Honestly, including dissidents in a very important conversation means a lot. And at the end, I want to tell you, even hugging men is forbidden. So I'm going to hug my brother.
Fantastic.
My brother is in prison. I'm not allowed to hug my brother. So I'm going to hug you all. And thank you so much for listening to Dissidents. And join our General Assembly in Berlin, city of Berlin. We're going to bring the wall of dictatorship down together. Don't be allergic of regime change. Be allergic of dictators. And join World Liberty Congress. For sure, we're going to be together. We're going to be stronger and win the battle together.
It is fantastic and it's inspiring. Thank you all for being here. This was so important to understand the promise and the benefits of AI are also mitigated by the problems and the manipulation of artificial intelligence. Huge thanks to the Special Competitive Studies Project, SCSP, and AI Expo. And thank you to all of you for being here, for listening to this important panel. As Nikola said, when there's so much more that's fun and interactive out there, this is important for interaction. Thank you all so much.